Hey everyone, it's Crow, and welcome into a Stitch with Me. So, we are working on one of my dragon whips today. This is the Coffee Dragon by Stanley Morrison, charted by Paine Free Crafts. And I think this is number 12 so far this month. Let me check. Yes, this was a Dragon Whip number 12. And so my goal for Mythical May, hosted by my friend Crafty Dynamite, is to stitch on all of my Dragon Whips. And I'm doing pretty well so far. I think I have I know I don't have 30. I think I have 25, 26. So I definitely will as long as I keep up and do one a day for the rest of the month at least, I'll be able to get my goal finished. So I'm doing this on 28 count, 1/1 full cross. And this is actually not a dyed fabric. This is a printed fabric from Fabric Flair. Fabric Flair. I don't know what I said. And I don't remember what it's called, but I think it was Mulberry. So I am kind of gridding a little bit because it is printed and you can wash their fabrics. So I'm not worried about that. I did do a center start. This is one of the non-full coverage dragons from Stanley Morrison, which is why I chose this fabric. So I already got some stitched, but before filming this, but so far we have 1,364 stitches done for 1.58%. So I'm not feeling too well today. I have a bit of a sinus migraine, and I was gonna go live, but then I thought filming might be better with how I'm feeling, so I can pause if I need to or whatnot. So but it's rainy and gloomy, and I love the rain. I like rainy days far better than I like sunny days. However, the downside to that is I do tend to get sinus issues with the rain and the weather systems that come through. So gotta take the bad with the good. So hopefully I'll feel better tomorrow and can go live. A few of you have said that you're excited and hope to be able to catch the lives. So I'm looking forward to the first one. And I will definitely post the videos after the fact. So I think it does it automatically. I'm not quite sure. I've never gone live on YouTube. But if it doesn't, I'll make sure to post it so that if you can't catch the live, you can still watch it after the fact. Because I know with people's schedules and time differences and all that kind of stuff, not everyone will be able to attend the live as it's happening. So had a decent week so far. It's Wednesday, and I've been so out of it today, like I said, with my head, that I had no idea what day it was for a good portion of the day. But it is Wednesday. Week's been going okay. Been working on getting a restock for one of the shops for my candles. And other than that, business has been really slow, so I've just been working on that and stitching. Thankfully, I didn't have to make. Actually, I don't have to make anything. I don't believe. I need to check my list over again, but actually, I want to make a batch of the new scent that I have, because the bookshop bought 3 of them wholesale, and a friend of mine wants 2 of them, but I want to take some to the shop for the restock, so I do need to make a batch of that. But because I had so few sales at the event a couple weekends ago, basically it's just all repacking everything, taking stuff out of those boxes to then put in the boxes for the shop. So and other than that, I've been stitching. Doing a bit of, tidying and cleaning, and I did finally got Elizabeth Bathory fully finished in a frame I had in my finishing hoard of stuff. But she's so tiny that I just have her on a little it's a antique what do you call it, tea cart that I think was Dar's grandparents, question mark. We got it from my mother-in-law. She gave it to us. And so I have it up here, and so I put Elizabeth on that in front of the murder wall. So it's like a murder wall extension. Because she's so tiny, I didn't want to hang her. So I did do that, which is good. I've been actually doing a few FFOs lately. Not difficult ones, just framing them. Two in hoop frames, hoop finishes, and two in frames that I had. And so nothing difficult, nothing fancy. I still don't like doing it, but I'm not going to send things that are small like that off to a framer. So it's just more I needed to say, right, today's the day we're going to do this one. And just take the 20 minutes or so and just do it, you know. They're not perfect, but again, they're small pieces, so we had my in-laws over for dinner on Sunday. It was Mother's Day here, and I don't celebrate Mother's Day for a number of reasons, which I'm not going to get into, but I don't celebrate the day. I don't like the day. I don't celebrate the day. However, they had been bugging us to go over there and bugging Child to go over there, and he didn't want to go, and so we just said, you know, let's just have them over here because they're just going to keep asking, you know, so let's just invite them over, get it over and done with. And I know it sounds terrible, but, you know, it is what it is. And so Dar made ribs, which were absolutely incredibly delicious. I have no idea what he put on them. He marinated them the night before. There was some sort of dry rub. I don't even know. I don't know. I had nothing to do with it, but by damn did I enjoy eating them. And he put them in a pressure cooker for a little bit and then finished them on the grill. And then he made a bean salad, which was, again, I don't know what spices he used. I know my mother-in-law doesn't like a lot of, she doesn't like spice. So I know there wasn't anything, you know, quote, exotic or anything in there. But it was very good. He put enough spice so that there was flavor, but not wild spices that she wouldn't like, I guess is the best way to describe it. And then my father-in-law's birthday was it's this week sometime. I don't even know. But he likes coconut cake. So Dar made a 4-layer coconut custard cake, which was, again, fantastic. And so they came over in the afternoon, and then we had dinner, and you know, there were some tense moments, but we survived. They know I don't celebrate, like, every year. Child is a teenager, so that gives you an idea. And I have never celebrated, and I have made it very clear that I don't celebrate. So the first thing my father-in-law says to me is, "Happy Mother's Day." And I said, "I don't celebrate. Thank you, but I don't celebrate." Like, I don't want to be told that. I don't want to be reminded, like, I just don't. You know I don't celebrate it. Don't say it out of obligation. That just makes me more upset. And he said, yeah, I know. And I said, well, then why say that? Like, oh, Jesus. Like, if you know and you remember, then why? Why say that? Ugh. But anyway, dinner was absolutely fantastic. My mother-in-law, shenanigan. We made it without any shenanigan soup, I think because it's been pretty chilly the past few days because of the rain. But you know, we are getting into the warmer seasons, and so we made it without her bringing soup. Which was a bonus. But she walks in the house, and Child goes to the door, you know, to greet them. And like I said, Child is a teenager. So she walks in, and I can't even really impersonate this because I don't talk to children this way. Like, even when Child was young, we always talked to him like he was a person and not like, we didn't talk down to him, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So she goes, who are you? And he looks at her and he says, your grandson? And she says, really? And he just didn't even say anything. He just kind of looked at her like, what are you even doing? Like, he's a teen. Like, that's a conversation you have with like a 3-year-old. And like the way you talk to a 3, like, I just, then my father-in-law walked in, and mind you, you know, they just walked in. They're not even in the house for 30 seconds. And Dara was wearing a kilt, not a tartan kilt. Like, it's just it wasn't really, it's not a utility kilt, I don't think, officially, but sort of like that, like a modern one that's black and has, I think some orange rib, what do you call it? Orange, is it ribbing? Like, I keep wanting to say border, but that's like a cross stitch. That's not what I mean. Like the edge of the fabric, you know what I'm trying to say. Banding, maybe. And he's worn this in front of them before. It's nothing new or anything. And his father looks at him and says, oh, you going to battle? And my defenses immediately came up, and Dar just said, yeah, something like that, you know, kind of a brush off, sarcastic kind of thing. And it took everything for me to just keep like I said, they'd been in the house for not even 30 seconds. So I really wanted to say, you know, that's not appropriate. It's a piece of clothing, just like you're wearing a piece of clothing. There's no need to make that sort of comment, you know. Plus, also, it's not a traditional kilt. It's not, so your quote joke isn't even a joke. whatever. He wouldn't have understood that. But regardless, I didn't say anything because I was like, at least let's get through, 5-10 minutes before tensions really get. Oh man. So he always comes in khakis. He always wears khakis and a polo shirt. So I've decided that the next time they come over, which probably will be Memorial Day weekend, because we don't really celebrate that holiday either in the traditional sense of, how most people here celebrate it. However, again, we either have them here or we have to go over there, and we'd rather stay here and have them over. So I've decided that the next time he comes over in his khakis and his polo shirt, I'm going to say, "Oh, you going golfing?" And he's not going to get it, and he's going to be very confused. So I'm going to have to explain to him, "Well, you're wearing khakis and a polo shirt. That's what you wear when you go golfing. Why are you wearing it now? Surely that means you're going golfing." Because I am that person, and you just don't need to say stuff like that. Like, if you don't approve of something, like a piece of, then just keep your mouth shut. You're not funny. You might think you're trying to be funny, but you're not. Anyway. Anyone new, if you can't tell, I don't get along well with my in-laws. Which, it is what it is. They're not going to change, we're not going to change. It's just keep the peace for a child, but he's starting to get, as he gets older, he's starting to become more aware of their shenanigans, so to speak. So, especially if she continues to talk to him like he's 3. He's not really going to want to be around her that much, and I can understand that. And my parents are both, I don't have any real, I don't have, this is my only, all of my grandparents died before I was born, so I never had well, that's a lie. There was one in Centralia, my grandfather, who died when I was 7, 6 or 7. But he wanted nothing to do with children, so anytime we went up there, I didn't even really see him. He asked if I took my vitamins, and I said yes, and that was the end of the conversation. And all my other grandparents died before I was born, so I never had, I don't have an experience of that kind of relationship, like grandparent, grandchild. And then both of my parents are dead. So the only experience I have is Dar's Dar's parents, my in-laws. So I'm kind of like, this is normal. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, what are we gonna do next? Let's see. So this is the bottom of the dragon, and then the cup kind of comes in like here. So I think I want to go and do something that's not black. Or what do we got? What is that, 676? Trying to see which one I want to do first. Let's actually do 945. Okay. Excuse me. I've been keeping up with my Giro d'Italia stitching. I was able to watch it yesterday, but today, the VPN wasn't really cooperating, so I wasn't able to watch it today. But I've been keeping up with the stitching. And I have also been very good with my stitch from stash for the rest of the year idea. So after I signed up for the Gathering Thread Retreat, Jade the 310 Stitchers retreat in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, in August 22nd, I think. 22nd to 24th. So after I signed up for that, and I booked the hotel, and I still have to book flights, which I'm hoping to use my points for, so I won't have to pay for them. I mean, I did it, to get the, how it works, like for the credit card points, like you end up paying for it anyway, but you've earned the points by spending money. So I'm hoping to do that so I won't have to fork out more money. But I had the thought, once I did that, I had the thought of that sort of, it's a big treat to go, and especially since I'm in the United States. So it's not like, quick, I have to fly or drive, and we have one car, so I really can't drive because Dar will need the car. So I thought that would be my acquisition, my hoard acquisitions for the rest of the year. And I will allow myself to, if there's anything at the retreat that I want, I will allow myself to purchase. I know Tiny Monitors is going to be there, and I love their stuff. I was actually stitching their bell pull, the Moon Phase bell pull yesterday. So I will allow myself to get some stuff out of the retreat, because, you know, that's part of the experience if there's anything I want, you know. But I'm not going to, for the rest of the year, I'm going to stitch from stash. I have a lot of patterns, obviously. I have a lot of fabric that I've accumulated for my hoard over the years. And I'll allow myself to get, if I run out of a color, for example, DMC color or something, obviously, I'll allow myself to get that. But no, oh, I like this variegated thread, let's get some, you know, for no reason. Nothing like that, or patterns, things like that. So, I wanted to get a pattern for one of my stitchy friends. And while I was shopping for her, I found something else that I liked for me, and I added it to the cart, and then I went to checkout, and I said nope. So I took that out of my cart, put it in my wish list, and only bought the one for her. So I was very good, and I was very proud of myself. And since I made this decision to stitch from stash, I have not purchased anything for myself, which was like a week ago. So I'm very impressed by that. Because there's been sales, especially on Etsy. There's a number of smaller patterns from Ukrainian designers and things that aren't that expensive, but they've been like 50% off or so. So it's like $2 or $3 for a chart. And usually I would just say, oh, you know, get it then because it's so inexpensive. But I have not. I have been very good. And hoping I can keep up with it. You know, if I slip up here and there, it's not a big issue. But I am gonna still go to the Midsummer Stitch in July, I think it is. Hosted by Lindy Stitches. And last year they did not have a shop, I don't believe, for the Midsummer Stitch. So I don't know if there's going to be one this year or not. But if there is, I'll allow myself to get something if I really want it. Because again, it's part of the sort of part of the experience, especially if it's an exclusive pattern. If it's something that I like, but I'm kind of like, I like it, but would I actually stitch it? Then I'm not going to get it. But that's also assuming that there's a shop, because like I said, I don't think last year for the Midsummer Stitch there was a shop. But I am going to do that. So I'm still allowing myself to do some, you know, and purchase some things. But okay, I wanted to answer some questions. I should have written them down, but I didn't think that far ahead. So let me just go to YouTube. Because people had asked me, sent comments in and asked questions And every time I did a speaking stitch with me, I just kind of went down and answered, and then commented on the, replied to the comment with which stitch with me I answered the question in. So we're just going to continue down the list. The next question on the list is, how do you organize your projects? Storage, question mark, in bags, on bookshelves, etc. So I actually just redid my organization. So my dad had, in the 70s, had built these two very large, I can't give you dimensions, but they're very large bookcases, solid wooden bookcases for my mom, for her books. And we still have both of them, and they're very, like I said, they're very sturdy because he built them to hold books. And they have very nice wide shelves. So I went and got wooden crates, I guess is the best way to describe them. They're crates, and I got them I don't remember how wide they are. 15 inches maybe? Something like that. Inches wide. And I got 8 of them. And at the moment that's serving me fine. And I can fit put them on the shelves horizontally, lengthwise, right? And fit 3 of them on the shelf, no problem. With a little bit of room left over on the edge of the shelf for some of my cross-stitch books and things like that. And so each bin I have labeled, each crate I have labeled just with a number, like bin 1, bin 2, bin 3, etc. That I used our label maker for. Put it on the front of the crate. And then each of my projects have, I don't have one here to show you. Or wait, do I? Hold on. Oh, nope. Oh, I don't have one here. I don't have one here to show you, but I can. Each of my projects have a card like this that I put the name of the pattern, the designer, and then the details I write the bin number. So bin 4, and I'll write that down there, and then I put it in the just a luggage tag, and then this is on the zipper, and so when I take it out, it'll say bin 4. So then when I go to put it away, I know it goes into bin 4. And then if I don't remember what bin it's in, I have a database of all my patterns that I made in Google spreadsheets. And it has the project, the designer, the status, whether it's finished, UFO'd, in progress, not started. I have its category of whether I call it, whether it's a legacy piece, whether it's a priority piece, whether it's whatever, where the chart type, so if it's in markup, like the chart location. So if it's in markup, if it's in Pattern Keeper, if it's in Cross Stitch Saga, etc. A section, excuse me, etc. And then I also have its physical location. So each piece that's been started has its bin location. So bin 1, bin 2, etc. So if I want to work on a piece and I can't remember which bin it is, I go into my database, do Control F for the piece, and it will tell me which bin to go to. So that's how I organize my projects. And I have been doing well with keeping up with it, you know. When I was still purchasing things, adding things on, you know, if I started something, putting what bin it's in, changing it to in progress, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's how I do it, and I really like it. It's been working really well for me. Okay. The next question, it says, hi, I'm starting my first full coverage project and I was wondering if you had any tips on starting and working on one. That's the first part of the question. So let's answer that part first. What I have to say about full coverage is that a lot of people find it very daunting because they're usually bigger pieces. Not all full coverages are big, and I've done a full coverage piece that only had 14,000 stitches on it, or in it. But many people find it very daunting because they tend to be very big with lots of colors, etc. And at the end of the day, just remember that it's one stitch at a time. It's really no different than a non-full coverage piece, right? As far as looking at the chart, right? Looking at the symbols and stitching the symbols. There are many ways to do full coverages. Some people start in the middle. People go by pages. People start from the top left, the top right. Some people start from the bottom. Some people do cross country. Some people do extreme cross country, where they do all of one color until it's done, and then they move on to the next color. I'm on the diagonal kick at the moment. There's many ways to just even do diagonals. So my advice would be to start wherever feels the most comfortable for you to start. If you feel like a center start, like if you don't want to count up whether you have gridded fabric or not, you still need to count up to the corner, or make sure you have enough room for the, like, if you feel comfortable starting in the center, then start in the center. And just start wherever feels the most natural for you to start. Pick a color and just start stitching. Try different ways, try different things. If you want to try diagonal, I wouldn't start in the center. But, you know, you can do pages, starting from the center by pages. Cal Stitches does that. I think she usually starts in the center, but she then does one page at a time and will work out from the center, either in rows or what have you, by pages. And just remember that there's no right or wrong way. And you can change. So if you start in the center, let's say, and you start doing it by pages and decide that following and staying in the page line is a bit too much, then just switch and do cross country and just kind of, which is sort of like what this is, right? It's just wherever it goes, it goes. And then let's say maybe you want to work down to the bottom if that's not really working out for you, and you want to work down to the bottom and go across the bottom. You can do that. You can change it up. So don't feel stuck to or limited to however you start a piece. Because at the end of the day, when it's all done and all the stitches are in, you're not going to know how you went about it. No one's going to know how you went about it, how you went about getting all the stitches completed, right? They're just going to see the completed piece. And the other thing to remember, like I said, is it's just one stitch at a time. It's really no different. It's just bigger. So you'll learn what works best for you the more you do it. Like with anything, you'll learn which method kind of works best for you. And many people sort of have their own methods. You'll learn where starting feels best for you, whether that's a corner or a center or whatever. But just have fun with it, and just remember that there's no right or wrong way. Just one stitch at a time, just like any other pattern. And then the second part of that question says, how did you come to start your floss tube, and what made you interested in starting one? So I used to stream on Twitch, cross stitch, quite regularly. I started streaming 2021, I think. And I streamed very regularly. I streamed 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And then it got too overwhelming for me, which I talked a little bit about in my last floss tube, because Twitch is, if you've never watched Twitch before, it's very busy. I guess it's a good way to explain it. It's very busy. There's alerts everywhere. There's alerts for followers. When someone who follows you, there's alerts for raids. There's alerts for subscriptions. There's bells and whistles that you sort of need you sort of reach a certain point, and then you kind of need these bells and whistles, and you have to, I don't want to say you have to, but then you raid other people. Instead of just ending your stream, you raid other people and you take your people over there, and there's emotes and there's games and there's just shout outs and all kinds of stuff. And between that and just managing the people, I guess, I don't want that to sound bad, but it just became, there were situations, and it just became too much, too overwhelming. And I took a break. I stopped, and I took a long break, and I tried to come back, and we actually had a lot of internet issues, so it didn't really work. And then I tried coming back again, and I did some, I did some streams and blah, blah, blah. But it's not, it's not been enjoyable for me. Again, there's just too much. It's like being overstimulated, even as the streamer. But I still wanted to share my stitching because if you've been following me, I do a lot of stitching. I own my own candle business. So when I'm making candles, I stitch because I'm waiting. A lot of it is just waiting around, waiting for the wax to cool, waiting for the wax to heat up. So even when I'm working, I get a lot of stitching done, and I still wanted a way to share that with people. And then I was introduced to Jen the Caffeinated Crafter through a couple of my friends who watched her. And I had not heard of Flosstube. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it was. And I went and I watched Jen's, was it it was one of her whip parade. Was it the 2023 whip parade? I think it was her whip parade from 2023. It was like 5 parts. And she had all of her whips, and she broke them up into categories, and then had goals for each whips, and then broke those goals up into milestones, and was showing all of her things. And it was 5 parts. And I absolutely loved it. I was like, this is amazing. Like, people share this on YouTube. Like, what? So then I went back and I watched some of her regular floss tubes. And then, once you start watching things, then other things pop up, suggestions and whatever. Where's my 700s? And so I found other people, and I was like, I can do this. I can share my projects. This seems fun. Like, so I just started off very basic, I'm still not super bells and whistles, but didn't really have, like, I think anyone with their first floss tube, right, is like a bit, yeah, I don't know, camera's on, here we go, right? Let's just go for it. So that's how I came to Flosstube. And like I said, I didn't even know it was a thing until a couple of stitchy friends recommended Jen's channel to me. And I just was immediately hooked, and I was like, this is amazing. I can share my stuff here. And it just kind of went from there. Okay, I have no idea. We'll do another question. The next one's a multi-part as well. It says, you have a fishbowl on the little table behind you. So this is, excuse me, referring to when I do my floss tubes. And there's the bedside table behind me. And there's a fishbowl on it. And it says, I was wondering what kind of animal lives there. And there is no animal that lives in that fishbowl. That is my ort jar. It's a 2-gallon glass fishbowl that I had got for, when I first became an affiliate on Twitch. Again, part of all the hoopla was I had this thing that whenever anyone subscribed, I would, I got these little, they weren't, I guess maybe, I don't know, some kind of plastic, they were hard plastic frogs. And I would write the person's name who subscribed, their username or whatever, on the bottom of the frog, and then it would go in the fishbowl. And of course, that just got too much to manage. I stopped doing that, but I still had this fishbowl left. And then sometime last year, I had the idea of, well, I have all these orts, and I had all these little jars everywhere, which I still have little jars full of orts. But then I thought, I have this big fishbowl. Why don't I just use that as a gigantic ort jar? And so that's what it is. When I'm stitching at my desk here, I have a mason jar that I collect the orts in. And then when it gets full, I empty it into the fishbowl. And for anyone who is not familiar with the term ort, it means it's just the little bits of thread that you have left over from when you're stitching that you cut off. Lots of people throw them away. Lots of people save them. I've always saved them. I don't know why I can't part with them. It's sort of like like a trail, like a visual trail of what I've stitched. All the things that have been made, and like a memory, sort of. I lost my spot. There we go. No. 2, 3. Hold on. Okay. So that's what that is. There's no animal in there. That is just a bunch of threads. Okay, let me get myself so I know where we are, and then we'll go to the second part of that question. Okay, so the second part of that question is, how long have you been stitching and who taught you how to cross stitch? So I'm 43. I say with great confidence. Yeah, 43. And I've been stitching since I was about 7 or 8. And I'm self-taught. So my dad got esophageal cancer when I was about that age, when I was young. And we spent a lot of time in the hospital. And so I was a very crafty child. I was very, I read a lot, and I was into all kinds of arts and crafts. And so I did latch hook, and I did the needle. My mom got me the needlepoint kit with the yarn, and then she got me a cross stitch kit, and I couldn't tell you what it was, but that's how I taught myself. I just read, it was for children. It was probably, they used to have like ones that were probably like, what, 10 count, 11 count, something like that you actually used yarn for, to make the crosses instead of floss. And I just read the kit, read the directions, and that's how I learned. So my Baba, was a stitcher, was a cross stitcher. She did everything. She was a crocheter, and we still have a lot of the doilies that she crocheted. She was a sewist. She was cross stitcher, embroiderer. She did everything. But she died before I was born. And my mom always wanted to learn, but didn't have just the eye. She just couldn't do it. Like the eye-hand coordination, she just, no matter how much she tried, apparently, it just wasn't there. And then she got arthritis very young. And then just hurt too much to try to do the crafts. So she wasn't able to teach me anything. Oh, I missed one. Go back. But yeah. So it was all just because I needed something to occupy myself while we were in the hospital for so much and so long. And then I took a break from it when I was in college. And then picked it up again after college a little bit. And after we got married. And then took a little break again, a few years. And then I discovered full coverage pieces. And I discovered, Etsy and all the digital patterns, and that it wasn't just the kits that were in, oh gosh, well, when I was little, there was AC Moore's, there was Ben Franklin, if anybody remembers Ben Franklin craft stores, Joann's, like Michael's didn't even exist, so I then, I discovered that there was much more than just the kits that you could find in the kind of big box craft stores. And it was like a whole world just opened up, and I got hooked again. So that's my stitching history. So we're going to finish this thread, and then we'll call it a day. For those 3 people that I answered their questions for, I will reply to their questions, their comment, and let them know that which Stitch With Me their questions were answered in. I think, what is this, 23? Whatever. I'll make sure I know the number and give them the link. So if you have asked a question in that post, that's how you'll be notified, quote unquote, that I've answered your question. There's still, I think, 2 questions left, or two people left. I think they might have multiple questions, but yeah. So there we go. We got about 300 stitches in, because I had some already done before filming this. And we now have 1,677 stitches out of 86,444, and we're at 1.94%. So, might work on this a little bit more before I put it away. and then we'll move on to the next dragon whip. So thank you all for watching. I hope you got some stitching done or something productive done while watching and listening. And stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Happy stitching.